Madweni. So I am shutting down the music before a minute because I'm avoiding the conversation around copyright music as I need to get my own music first. So good morning. So today, welcome to the Four-Man Conversations. And this morning, I want to extend a conversation that I was woken up with to talk about, which is the initiation of boys in high schools. I thought let me just do an extension of that conversation in relation to the inner wounds and also traumas and also the definition of manhood to boys and how it's presented to boys so that we can then have a bigger conversation with the foundation that is given to boys at a young age. Is it a true foundation? And also, how come in each generation, how come we're not questioning the definition that is given to young boys, where we are told boys will be boys? So what does that mean? What does it include? And also, what are the expectations thereafter? So quickly, before I start, I just want to clean up my wall so that I can see what's happening properly. Good morning and welcome. I see the numbers are coming in. Good morning and welcome. So the question that was posed this morning was around initiation. There is a story that happened recently at Maritzburg Boys where a grade 8 boy was urinated at by a grade 12 pupil and was also asked to go down the trenches as part of the initiation process. So the bigger question is that, or the bigger conversation that sparked my interest this morning when I was talking at Radio 2000 was that a lot of now men, older men are saying, but we also went through that type of initiation in these schools. We went through that and actually we had fun. And therefore we don't understand what these boys are crying about or finding odd about it because it's been fun. So interesting enough, because I specialize with Black boys and because I work a lot with teen boys as well, in some of the top private schools that I've been not stalking, but reading up on, especially in terms of school culture, because the backdrop of teen coaching is also partly understanding school culture. I noticed that a lot of them, especially the boys colleges or boys schools, most of them have a deep history of military processes that they take boys through. Case in point is a school that close by in the Eastern Cape in my region, where if you look at their cultural process or their esteemed cultural process has a very military approach. From the carrying of guns, they use wooden guns now, from the khaki uniform that they wear when they're doing those military processes, to the drumming and. And when I was looking down history, because I have a very high interest in history, and I want to read it. I'm not gonna tell you where I got this from because time, but in 1984, this is history around the 1980s. You can check the history books online or Saha. Schools functioned as nurseries or vectors for impressing ideological agendas in the preparation of white males for military service. This was done in the 1980s. Another quote I want to do is, where's this thing now? Is young white men who had just finished high school were drafted into the army. They had no choice in the matter. However, not all white people supported apartheid. That's a different one that I want to read. But because not all of them supported it, a lot of them were recruited and we were not given a choice. And most of the time, that recruitment happened at high school level. So if we look at that particular recruitment processes, schools were not given a choice, but they were made to be nurseries of recruiting white boys to be part of the military army. And we know what happened during apartheid. These are the same young boys who called our parents boys, who unleashed dogs on them. We know the history in its gory details. So when 1994 happened and there was a changeover in terms of the current governing system or people, because the system is still there, schools, mostly private schools, were encouraged to take on Black students. They were encouraged to hold on to the Rainbow Nation. They were encouraged to open their doors to allow Black kids to come in. Some of the schools were not sometimes given an option, but they were told, we are in a Rainbow Nation now, accept Black students or close down. So they were not given a choice. What that led to, though, is that there was no proper change system that was done in the schools. The same old systems, the same old mindsets, the same old way of doing things were not changed. In walked the Black boys, like, what? No private school access, resources, games, sports grounds, everything looks lovely, posh, and nice. But then they're walking into a system that's going to say, when you walk into these doors, we have to remove the Blackness out of you so that we emulate to whiteness as close as possible. Ne? That's how it plays out. So in white works, white and Black boys, they speak in their Zulu language, they speak in their Xhosa language, they speak in their Tswana language, and then hang on, no, you can't speak this language in here. You can't be who you are in here. In walked our boys with their township walk and and that vibe and that swag from Ekasi, and a teacher says, no, you can't walk like that in here. Walk like a proper human. Walk like a white human, because we are emulating whiteness in here. In walks our boys with their dreadlocks and beautiful soft black hair. Like, no, we need to shave that hair off, because a Black person in this space must not have hair, because that's the rule that we're coming from, where we removed hair from your father. So you can't carry your Blackness in here. Let's remove it. That was the external. And then internally, woke up the kids at 3 a.m. in the morning. This still happens even this day. Wake up the boys at 3 a.m. in the morning, make them run the trenches around the school, make them go through in a lot of breaking down and the rules that say you can't talk about this. This stays between us. You are weak if you can't stand this orientation. You are not a weak man if you can't stand all this drama. You are a weak boy. You are weak. You are weak. You are weak. You are weak. We have to shape you to be the type of man that we think you need to be fit in this place. And then we say boys will be boys. The trauma mentally, the trauma emotionally, the trauma physically that they had to go through. I've witnessed this trauma because I've worked a lot with Black boys. I've witnessed it in these spaces. I've witnessed it where a boy has so much anger, but the school says that these are our rules. You cannot talk to anyone about this. These are our rules. If you want to fit into this place, you must stomach all of this. These are our rules. Parents don't know about it. The first time I spoke about this to parents are like, no, you guys racialize everything. No, we need our kids to be in this spaces. And then, give our kids to have access to this education. They will stand, they are stronger. And then when the kids broke down, we think, what happened? What happened? And sometimes don't even ask what happened. We don't. But a lot of boys tend to do, in order to manage that environment, they tend to look at the rules, they push against those rules as high and as far as they can, because that's the only way that they can leave that system. Because often parents play hide and seek, or they don't come to the meetings, or they don't want to face the white teachers or the white principals, or they don't want to address the rules of the schools. So most of the time, Black parents also have all their own drama, their own work, or corporate spaces, and the fact they don't have the energy to deal with it. So they say to their boys, find a way to stomach this so that you get a good education. But the boy is broken inside, because what also happens in these initiation spaces is that the grade 12 boys can do whatever they want with the grade 8s. There are no rules for them, except that the rules are given to the grade 8s to listen to the grade 12s, follow what you're told, do as you are told. Don't say no, don't refuse. So that grade 12 boys can do whatever they want. Whatever they want. And the kids cannot talk at home, because at home they're going to be reminded ukuthi sibhadale imali eningi lana. So then what happens is that because initiation in some schools can take a whole year, from January till December. Think about the mental conditioning, the emotional conditioning, the psychological conditioning that happens to that boy from January till December, and how it affects them emotionally. What I've seen happen is that some boys will completely break. You had a vibrant grade 8, a vibrant child. You had a very vibrant, lovely, but by the time they get to grade 9, they're empty, they're highly detached, they're a completely different person, and we esteem that as, oh, bayakula, oh, they're growing up, and yet there's a broken child in there, because we did not pay attention to the cues of what's happening to them. What also then happens is that that conditioning grows with them. That conditioning grows with them, where the belief says, that's what this is what manhood is about, the violence. This is what manhood is about, the violence. The act of, I can do whatever I want without you. You can't say no. Like, why should you say no? Because this is manhood. This is how it was taught to us. So in this conversation, I would love to challenge men to go through your boyhood. What happened to you when you were a boy? What conditionings did you experience? What traumas did you go through? What mental traumas did you go through in the act of being groomed to be a man? And what about those traumas are we passing on to our kids? Because the way initiation works in private schools is that the grade 8s are loaded over by the grade 12s. They have to listen to everything that the grade 12 does. Ne? And then the boy who is in grade 8 now, with all that trauma, will move to become a boy who is in grade 12 one day, and they will repeat the same thing to the new incoming grade 8s. It almost forms like a churning wheel, a system that runs on itself, where the breaking happens. Some boys who are conscious, because now there are some boys who are like, you know what was done to me in grade 8 was horrible. I'm not going to do the same thing to the incoming grade 8s. I'm not. But then there's one teen boy that I met, broke my heart, who was so angry. He carried this anger from grade 8 to grade 9 to grade 10 to grade 12. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to do the very same thing that was done to me. I can't wait for those grade 8 kids, because I need to give it to them the way it was given to me. And once it gets there, you must know, go to your child. I can't even finish the word. So let's think about the traumas, the things we pass on to our boys because of the traumas that we went through, that we accepted as part of being groomed to be a man, and how we've passed on that trauma in the definition of what manhood is. Let's talk about that. Sometimes initiation doesn't happen in schools only, it also happens in our communities as well, in our societies. How to toughen a boy to be a man in our communities sometimes happens there as well. Let's question the traumas we went through before pass on those lessons and teachings to your son. Is it true reflection of what manhood is, or are we speaking from a point of unresolved trauma and conditioning and mental conditioning? No, just want to check the comments before I jump out. My to-do list is long, so I want to see if I can jump out early today. Let's just see. Okay, no comments, no comments, no comments, no comments from my page. Let's check. No comments from my wall. All right, there is a comment from a parent. Let's see if we can show it. So this is, okay, it's stories around initiation, yes. So in closing, I'm leaving a conversation to you that says, pay attention to your own soul and potential traumas and conditionings that are there, and ensure that it doesn't pass on to your boys. If you are in schools, mostly private schools, you'd find also that often Black teachers go through a certain type of initiation. We're living in an era where we have to question everything. We have to question everything. Be that person who questions everything, because that's the only way that things are going to change. Question everything. Have a lovely day.